What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Friday, February 9th, 2024. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host Phil. Episode 257. We have a surprise. Well, almost a surprise. It was almost a solo episode, Phil. Would you like to tell everybody why?
I am ridiculously tired and may or may not have fallen asleep during our scheduled podcast recording time, but I did awake, and here we are.
You have arisen. We were scheduled to record at like 7, and usually like 5 minutes before 7, I'll give you I'm on my way, and then right around 7, I'm on. And then like 7:10, I sent a GIF like, "Where are you?" And then 7:25ish, I'm like, "I'm all alone." And then I put in our podcast on. I was like, Phil?" And then I think Pat chimed back and was laughing. I was like, "It might be a solo episode." And then at like 7:45ish, you're like, "I'm alive. I'll see you at 8." I was like, whew, dodge that bullet, because I have not done a solo show in like over a year. Was not prepared for it. I was like, this is going to be a 15-minute episode, but we're back. We're both alive, and we're going to dive into it right now. But unless you have any other defense to your sleeping.
No, I was nodding off right before at like 6:30, 6:35. I'd eaten, and I literally could not keep my eyes open. I was like sitting up, pretty much passing out, and I figured, okay, I'll just at least like rest my eyes for 10 minutes, because if I don't, I'm absolutely not making it through this at all. So the idea was to rest them for 10 minutes. I didn't even make myself like comfortable. Like I went to bed, but I didn't really like make it a comfortable. Like I had the lights on. I didn't really make it a comfortable situation, and it didn't matter. I was apparently out pretty quickly, so glad to be alive. I'm still not doing great, but we'll fight through it and have a great, kind of pretty interesting and fun episode.
Yeah, you made 2 mistakes there. 1, you said I'll just rest my eyes, and 2, you brought those restful eyes to bed.
Yeah.
Regardless of how comfortable you were, those were 2 mistakes you made right there.
It was either, I don't know, I could not keep my eyes open, so I was like, well, if I go sit in front of a microphone, I'm probably just gonna like completely just nod off in front of it and pass out. So
well, you did get some rest, so hopefully we make it through this episode. So if you want to see a Sleepy Phil, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Phil's article dropped on Tuesday for the game that was the Rochester and Buffalo matchup, and then my power rankings just dropped yesterday and Thursday, so you can check both of those, like I said, buffalosportscollective.com, and look for the time breakdowns in the description of the show. Phil, Sunday is the Super Bowl. I know, not very many people around Buffalo are very interested in it. I believe most of the population will still watch it. San Francisco versus Kansas City. I believe we both had. No, we both had Baltimore. I'm sorry, we did not have Kansas City making it. So Baltimore, got eliminated. Joke of a game, real gross. But San Francisco versus Kansas City. Yeah, they ran it like said, run 5 times.
The ball.
Yeah.
When you're a running team.
Phil, I think we both picked San Francisco, maybe. I can't really remember. I didn't bother to look back either. But who is your pick, your final pick, since this is a Friday show right before the Super Bowl, to win the ultimate prize of the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I'm still going to give it to San Francisco. I know Kansas City obviously is the tried and true kind of Super Bowl pick at this point. I mean, they won it. They're the defending champs. They have somehow scraped by and found themselves back there again because they're a very good team that continues to do this. They have a good QB, a good coach, and here they are with a not very talented team, but a much better defense that just kind of finds a way to win. San Fran, I mean, if you just look at the QB matchup, I know Purdy is kind of a, I don't know, hot and cold topic. It's weird because nobody wants to give him any credit for anything, but he's still succeeding in what he's doing. So, I mean, him versus obviously Mahomes is a kind of a rough comparison. Mahomes, I would assume, is the more elite quarterback, but Purdy's still doing a good job. San Fran is a good defense. We'll see if they learn from Baltimore and they just run it a little bit more with their unique offense. But I think it'll be a good game. A lot of red, which is weird and boring. But I think as a Bills fan, I've always pretty much rooted, especially during the Patriot era of always being in the Super Bowl, I always just naturally gravitated toward the NFC team. Whoever happened to be facing the Patriots in the Super Bowl that year, just kind of picked them over the Patriots because I didn't want the Patriots to win for the 9,000th time either. And now, even though they're not in our division, so it's a little less painful, Kansas City is just the new Patriots that the Bills still can't get past. So I just find myself gravitating toward the team that is not Kansas City. I don't want to see them win back-to-back. I think it'll be a good game. I think San Fran has the ability to take Kansas City out, but Kansas City has found a way to make it to the Super Bowl again, so they are a team that just knows how to win when they need to win, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm also rooting for San Francisco. I think their offense is very fun. I think Kyle Shanahan is a very, very good head coach. He has come up very small in the big situations, i.e. Atlanta Falcons, 28-3. But I, sadly, believe that Kansas City's going to win this one. I just got another inkling that they can't be beaten, Phil. I don't get it. Even when they are not at their toughest, they're still in the Super Bowl. And I don't understand it. They're going to have so much money next year. They're going to draft another wide receiver for Patrick Mahomes. I don't want it to happen, but I just feel like Kansas City's going to win again. And I think San Francisco, I think it's going to be a very good game. Last year, Philly versus Kansas City, it was a very good game. Very high scoring, very close right at the end. So I can kind of see that going that way. But Steve Spagnuolo is just a very, very good defensive coordinator, and you gave him 2 weeks to scheme how to confuse and get to Brock Purdy. I think this is going to be a game where there are quite a few points, but I can see it being like a 28-24 Kansas City victory.
Yeah, I think Purdy's going to be the key. I mean, obviously, going into these games, you always look at the QBs. They're the kind of the fallout for every single team, no matter what. And this situation, obviously, Mahomes has the upper hand, and just being an elite quarterback, being there multiple times, having won multiple Super Bowls, he's got all of that going for him. Purdy, it's his first time. He has shown that he does crack under pressure occasionally, so it's going to take a lot for him to not only just remain calm, but also play mistake-free football, which I think is what you're going to need to do in order to win a game like this, and Mahomes knows the exact same thing on the other side. So I think just experience alone between the two QBs, I think the edge goes to Kansas City. So I don't know. We'll see. I think the coaches are probably pretty similar. I think Reed's obviously the better coach, but I think they're comparable. That's not the word. Comparable? Oh my gosh, that's the word I'm looking for. So I think it'll be good. I hope it's a good game. I hope it's a fun game. I'd like San Francisco to win, but I agree. I could see Kansas City winning, which is depressing more than anything.
So Sunday, just eat, drink, be merry, and forget about all your troubles, and just eat and drink them away. So enjoy your Super Bowl. When we're talking to you next, the Super Bowl had already happened. We're probably going to be recording before the Super Bowl. We'll have to discuss that after this episode is recording, when we're actually recording the next episode. But, let's dive into the Buffalo Sabres. They are back in action. They had a game on Tuesday versus Dallas, home, another longer homestand here. They used the playoff break or the All-Star break to improve on absolutely nothing. Congrats to them. Lost 2-1. Tage, only goal scorer. UPL, 28-30 saves. Shots were 48-30 in favor of Buffalo. And 48 shots, 1 goal. This is a wonderful season the Buffalo Sabres are having, and I'm so happy they're still a part of the show, regardless of how much I push to get them removed.
Yeah, Ottinger is an incredible goalie. I mean, Dallas is doing what they're doing for a reason. They're 31-13-6. So I read a few things that pretty much said, like, any other time in a season with the Sabres, this would have been encouraging. This would have been a good game against one of the better teams in the league. But as, analysts of the Sabres, we see the same trends coming out of the break that we saw before the break, where they are taking just terrible shots. Yes, 48 looks incredible. Congratulations. You had 48 saves. I think it was like some ridiculous 80-plus shot attempts, but for the most part, none of them are in the dirty area. You're just throwing them from the outside, and against a very good goalie like Ottinger, it's not going to do anything, hence the single goal. I believe Dallas had more high danger chances, even though they had far less shots. So even though the shots look great on paper, Dallas still was the more effective offensive team. So again, it's just the exact same thing that you're going into. UPL still looks really, really good. I'm happy for him. I'm sad for him at the same time that he's getting absolutely no support at all. And if this team had just a shadow of the offense it had last year, then UPL would probably actually be in consideration as one of the better goalies in the league, I think, as far as what he's done more recently. I mean, I don't have the stats of what he's done super recently right in front of me, but I know for a little while there when we were tracking him, his last like 7 or 8 games, he was pretty much sparkling with like an over 9.950 save percentage and a 1 point something goals against average, and he keeps all of that moving. Right here after the All-Star break, he looked really, really good in all these high danger chances against Dallas, but same team for Buffalo, just not willing to go to the dirty areas. They can say whatever they want. They're like, oh, it's a bummer that we lost a game that we think we outplayed them. I don't know. I don't think that's what it shows, even though you had more shots. But I know they got in penalty trouble. Still, it's just, I don't know. It's the same team, and they're falling farther and farther back. And to come out of the All-Star break and once again, it was their big opportunity to get their 3rd win in a row. The only time they would have done it all season. They still have yet to do that. So we're stuck at two straight wins. So they have yet to prove that they can even get to 3. So the team's, playoff hopes, implications, whatever you want to call them, are just not even slipping away slowly. They're pretty much just like tanked at this point. I mean, I don't know. We're in the exact same situation we were before the break.
Yeah, real quick. 4 penalties in the last 13 minutes. That can't happen. 8 giveaways for Buffalo versus 1 for Dallas. And then 23 block shots for Dallas. And here's the thing. I'm looking at the shot chart right now. You don't even have to watch the game. If you just look at something like this, you're going to... the 28 block or the 23 block shots are going to make sense. The Buffalo had 48 shots. Guess how many were within like 5 or 10 feet of the net? 3. Everything else is so far on the outside. It's unbelievable how they can play 50 games in an NHL season and keep doing the same thing. It's insanity. They're the definition of insanity. The Buffalo Sabres, how they play is the definition of insanity because they're trying the same thing and getting the exact same results. It's more frustrating because of they had something that worked last year that was entertaining, that was actually fun to watch, and it just all disappeared from game 1 on. They had like one game where it was, okay, this offense looks like it's back. And since that point, it's 1 out of 50 games that the offense actually looks legit. And you hit the nail on the head. You feel so bad for the goaltending because that was the issue last year. That's all we heard was the defense, and the issue was a major problem with this team last year. And UPL stepped up and said, hey, give me the reins. I will hold this net down and lead us to the promised land. And then all the offense was just like, nah, bro, we're good. We don't want to play extra games. We're going to sit this one out. It's so frustrating to go into a season. And I know I've said this so many times, but I mean, there's still 32 games left in the season. I'm banging my head against the wall, but they actually had hope, and they tricked so many people once again. And I guess my main question for you is, because the trade deadline's like beginning of March. Who even cares? They're not even going to do anything. What is your plan? Like, what do you, not what you want to see them do is, it's just a stupid comment because it's never going to happen. They don't do anything with this team. I don't even know how to phrase this. What do you want to see with Middlestad, who's going to be an RFA at the end of the year? What do you want to see with them with UPL, who's an RFA at the end of the year? What do you want to see with all these gobs of draft picks that they've taken over the past God how many years that are just in the AHL, and there's not how many times do we have to say it? There's not enough room in the NHL clubs. So I guess my question for you is what should be the plan that they're not going to do anyways?
Yeah, and that's been my problem this year. Is I don't know.
Nothing.
Like, I don't understand what you do to fix this team. Like, they've just gone so far backwards, and even this being like, I don't know, I don't know. It doesn't look like a positive game at all to me. I don't know. I don't see many positives from this game or anything, signs of life. But even if there was, like, I'm just so over that idea that, I mean, they're pretty much out of playoffs. Like, mentally, to me, they're done. I mean, if we're going to just be honest.
We'll go over that real quick. They are 11 points back of the first wildcard spot. They're 10 points back of the second wildcard spot, but they're even in games played, Phil. So credit to that. But they have to jump, not just to get to the second wildcard spot, right, which Detroit owns right now. They have to jump all these teams just to get in grasp of it. I mean, the Islanders have 50 games played, so you're even with the Buffalo Sabres, but they got 54 points, so you're 6 points back there. Pittsburgh's got 3 games in hand. They're still 5 points ahead of you. New Jersey's got 2 games in hand. They're 5 points ahead of you. Washington's got 2 games in hand. They're 3 points ahead of you. And you're tied with Montreal. Or, I'm sorry, you're tied in Montreal with games played, but they're 2 points ahead of you. Montreal was supposed to stink this year. Washington has regressed. Pittsburgh has regressed. Detroit, Phil, like, it's not just that you're 10 points behind. Like, you have to get 4 out of each 5 games, like winning in regulation, to even have a prayer to get back in. So they're done. They're missing their 13 straight playoffs. But it's more about, like, how far down you are. Like, they're better, and I know no Buffalo Sabres fan wants to hear this. They're better off trying to lose out and get a better draft pick than they are to try to make a push to the playoffs, right, because they're closer to the first overall draft pick than they are a playoff spot.
Right, and I think that's just, again, exactly what you said. Like, no one wants to hear that because that's where they've been for how many years now, and we thought we had some hope for this team as of last year where they just missed playoffs. We're like, okay, just take that next step. Like, you were right there. Like, everything you wanted was right there. You were just, just one or 2 games away from making it last year. So this was supposed to be the year, okay, just take that and make it a little bit better. And you've gone so far backwards. And now, again, we're just sitting here looking at a top 10 draft pick. Whoopee, like another young prospect that we get to throw in the system or throw in the third line with a little bit of juice and excitement. And like you said, like, I don't know what you do to this team. Like, they're just in limbo, which is the most annoying part. Like, you have such a young team, which is all we hear about. So to me, which is, again, just so incredibly frustrating because I don't want to keep dealing with this, but I feel like you have to ride it out. Like, I don't think you can sell off the young parts for another rebuild that's just dumb. I mean, you're like still in a rebuild right now. So I don't think selling anything off to start that over for draft picks again is smart. But at the same time, I don't think this team is one free agent away from making playoffs. So I feel like at this point, you're trying to keep this young team together as much as possible, hoping that they just continue to get better as the time goes on. But it's going to take 2, 3, 4 years while these young guys grow and develop in the NHL. So it's just going to be more struggle and pain and annoyance. And I don't know, this team's just in such a weird, dumb spot of doing absolutely nothing. Like, it's just so incredibly like, I could care less about the draft picks. I don't want them. I don't want prospects anymore. But this team is so far away. Like, I feel like you have to try to get Middlestat back because he's one of your best players right now, and you need something to build on. Like, you're not going to entice any free agents to come here with this terrible season and team that you're throwing out there. So I don't know, UPL, same thing. Like, right now he's your 1A goalie. Levi's clearly not ready, and it's nothing against him and his future. He could be still the future goalie for this team, but that was not it. So UPL's your guy, so you might as well try to keep him in the system because he's young and actually performing really, really well. And like you said, that we thought this team was just a goalie away. Like, yes, we wanted their defense to get a little bit better, but we needed a goalie to come in and make 2 or 3 big saves a night to, get the goals against down, and your high-flying offense was going to take care of the rest, and your goalie has stepped up, and he's there, and now your offense is just completely evaporated. And like you said, I don't I don't know. Like I don't want to get rid of Granato, but at the same time, exactly what you just mentioned, which is just mind blowing. How do you keep throwing the same offense out there and expecting a different result? Like, you come out of the All-Star break, you know you have to mix things up. You know you need a huge run in order to make it, even a chance for playoffs. And you come out and run the exact same system and offense that you ran before the All-Star break. I know you can't reinvent the wheel in the middle of a season, but just go back a little bit to what you did last year. Like, what are these outside shots? It's so boring. It's useless. You don't score with it. And yet the coach, who some of it's got to come down to at some point, is just continuing to run the exact same system out there and hoping for a different result. Like, you have to change it, and they're not changing it. They're just continuing to chuck 50 shots at the net while the goalie has a wide open view of a 70-mile-an-hour wrist shot that's floating at him. Like, congratulations, let's keep running that out and losing. Like, I don't know. I have no idea where this team goes. It's just so frustrating because I don't know what you do with this team. I don't think you can get any top free agents. I think the young talent is great, but it's going to take 4 or 5 years for them to actually make a run and do anything, which other teams can take young talent and flip it in a season. So I don't know. It's just bad. It's all around bad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give them too much attention because I personally don't think they deserve it, but I also don't think that we have given them enough like legit talking points on this show. So, I mean, Casey Middlestad, Peyton Krebs, and UPL are pretty much the big RFAs. And if you want to throw in Yoki Haru, RFAs for next year. And this thing about I'll exclude Yoki Haru and I'll exclude Peyton Krebs because I don't think they're gonna get a huge bump up in pay as an RFA. But Casey Middlestad, this is the second year in a row. He's looked really, really good. And like you mentioned, he's their best player on the forward group. It might be their best player on the ice besides UPL right now. And you can't give him a bridge because if he continues this trajectory, he's going to be asking for $11-12 million, and you won't be able to afford him because you signed Tage Thompson, you signed Dylan Cousins, you got Jeff Skinner under contract, you got Rasmus Dahlin, Owen Power, Matthias Samuelsson, which I supported all of those contracts because I felt that to be able to take that next level, you need to pay your young guys who are showing promise early so you get a discount later down the road and you can fill in the gaps as you go with the extra money. But that was last year's team. Like, this year's team, all the top players have just disappeared. Like, Tage Thompson's a shell of himself. Dylan Cousins is a shell of himself. Your best player is J.J. Peterka and Casey Middlestad. It's just, it's the inactivity of both Kevin Adams and Don Granato to try anything. Like, they've brought in who? Eric Robinson. Congrats. You re-signed Tyson Jost. Congrats. You brought in Connor Clifton and Eric Johnson. Whoop-de-doo. Like, it's so annoying that they haven't, like, what like they need to do.
Those are good moves if your team is pretty much set. Like, if
they
you
were
need
good
a
moves.
little bit. If
exactly.
You need like a little bit of a boost, that's a great
like
move.
They were last year. Like, you were 1 point out. If you had the offense and your star players were playing like they, and I get it, there's injuries, but whoop-de-doo, and it's the second time I've had to use whoop-de-doo. Everybody around the league has injuries. They're dealing with their injuries. Like, I'm sick and tired of 13 years of excuses with this team. Like, I get 2 of the years were the tank, and I supported the tank, whatever. But, Phil, there's 32 teams in the NHL. Half the teams make playoffs, and you've gone 13 years without making up. You didn't even get the one COVID year. They let 24 teams in, and you weren't even one of them. Like, I know I'm talking past teams, and some of these players weren't there, but Kevin Adams wanted to stockpile the talent in Rochester, stock the talent pool in your prospect pool. You did it, but like your NHL team is struggling. Like, you have Zach Benson. I don't want to see Zach Benson go out the door, but he's another piece. Wahlberg, second-round pick last year. Ostlund, first-round pick. Savoy, Kulik, Rosine, all these first-round picks that are just cooking in the AHL. We've said it for how long now? You can't keep all of these players. There's not room. So why don't you package them and go get a now talent who has term, who can help your NHL team? Not just for this year, because I'm kissing their playoff dreams goodbye. They're done. But for the future. Like, you're locked into Tage Thompson. You're locked into Dylan Cousins. Skinner's here for another 3 years. Tuck's got another 2 years under his belt. You got Dahlin, Power, and Samuelson locked in. But, like, if I'm Kevin Adams right now, I am looking to ship out UPL if you actually believe Devin Levi is the future. If he's the future and you have no promise this year whatsoever, you ship UPL out the door. You call up, you keep Eric Comrie up here. You call up Dustin Tokarski, and you just roll with those two in net this year. Because
but do not get rid of UPL for a draft pick, because I swear.
Right, but like, if Devin Levi's your future, UPL with how he's been doing is not a number 2 on this team. He's a number 1 NHL player, and
right.
He's more valuable if you truly believe that Devin Levi is your future. You can't give UPL a bridge. I honestly, I'm banging my head against the wall because I don't know. I honestly don't know what they're going to do because they haven't done anything. Like, you brought back everybody. You tried to run it back, but you changed the offense, and the offense is just...
For some reason.
Yeah, it's pute. Like, maybe they didn't even change it. Maybe just all these players came back and just sucked. Like, maybe that's really it.
Said, there was an article a while ago that said that last year all their high danger chances were coming right in front of the net, and this year it's just so far to the sides and the top. Like, nobody's going to the middle where all the goals are scored by good teams. They're all going to, I think it's Boston, like not 90%, but their highest percentage of goals comes literally pretty much in the crease where you score. And the Sabres, like you said, their shooting zone, their heat map for shooting is all on the perimeter. And last year it was right down the middle. It was right in front of the net, and then even still it was just down the middle, but a little bit farther away. And this year everything's so far to the outside, and it's coldest right in front of the goal where, you score goals. So it does seem like they completely changed their strategy. Like, their strategy seems to be whip it at the net and hope for the best instead of playing, hard hockey in front of the middle and just setting plays up or getting to the middle or getting right in front of the net and, making the goalie uncomfortable. Now they're just, let's pass it around the outside and just float something in, and we'll just hope it kind of skips by somehow, maybe, possibly.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're thinking you're going to be able to afford a big contract next year, you're not, because Dahlin's contract kicks in. Power's contract kicks in. It's just,
that's the thing. Like, as you were explaining all this, first off, I am wearing which I'm happy I did. I'm wearing my Do Something shirt. So good episode for that. And like, as you were explaining this, I think that's the only thing they can do is like, look at who's here and is going to be here. Like you mentioned, like Tage and Skinner and Tuck and like all these players, Cousins that you paid, Dahlin, Power, like all these players that you've paid that are going to be a part of this team. No matter what they are, they're here, you paid them, they're locked in. Like, put that on paper and figure out realistically, not what they should be for this team. Realistically, like, what are they? Like, is Tage realistically a second line center at this point? Is Tuck and Skinner, like, is that just a good number 2 line? And it is like you have no number 1 line at all? Are these young players, can they step up into the number 1 line? Are they just a really good number 3 line? Like, did the Sabres even have a true top line anymore, or is it just gone? Like, do they just have a really good 2, really good 3, and then if you want to keep trickling down, a decent 4th line, and you have absolutely no top line center, top line wing on either side? Like, is that just what they're completely missing? Like, they have to sit down and just say, like, okay, these are the players that are here, and try to be as honest with themselves as possible and say, like, what do we have on paper that, like, what is this team and what can we do and what do we need? And just kind of talking it out there, it does seem like they need an entire top line, which if that's what you need, good luck. I mean, trying to go acquire it. Obviously, those players are expensive, but I mean, maybe in a trade you can get something close to it. Like you said, like a UPL trade if someone's desperate for a goalie. I mean, he's looked absolutely incredible on one of the worst teams in the league. So if he can look this good for a bad team, imagine what he can do for a good team. Like, I feel like he probably has the most value out of anybody, and I'd love to see UPL stay. But like you said, if Levi is the answer, he should be able to get you something really good. I mean, he's looked absolutely incredible for a really bad team. So he should have the most trade value. I don't know if they trade him. And like you said, I don't know if they do anything because this team doesn't seem to care or want to do anything. They just keep saying oh, it's frustrating that we lost again. Like, good. You can keep saying that, but until you show any kind of change to your strategy on the ice, then it just means absolutely nothing. And I do feel bad for UPL and Net, who's playing, again, I feel like his really solid second half of the season here is completely overshadowed by the fact that they're just a terrible team.
Yeah, what's most frustrating is we've seen what this offense is capable of. Like,
it's the same players.
Yeah, you're paying Tage Thompson, Dylan Cousins, Jeff Skinner, Alex Tuck to be the players that they were last year. And we've mentioned it so many times. You were relying on the same players that just had career seasons to do the same thing or better. And I'm owning it. I didn't push that narrative enough that what happens if they don't.
Right.
Because I didn't think that they would all regress. Like every single player but Casey Middlestad and JJ Peterka and UPL has regressed. There's no denying it. The stats back it up. You can look at any analytical site you want. It's the same. Like, one player, like Jack Quinn's injury, shouldn't have just decimated this entire team. And that's kind of what it seems like happened, because Jack Quinn came back. The offense might not have fixed it, but the wins came in January. Like, they had a good January, but you had such a crap October, November, and December that you were digging yourselves out of the pit. Jack Quinn comes back and the whole team fixes. One player shouldn't make or break a team, and that's what seems to happen.
I mean, I like Quinn, but he's not your top line center. Like, when Tage came back, like, that should have fixed it. Tage came back and he played terrible. Like, yeah, okay, well, that didn't help. I don't have confidence. I look like an idiot because I thought Kevin Adams was like this guy that I was wrong about, and it's the flip side. I ended up being, I might be right about him because he just doesn't have any moves. Like, his moves are fourth line pieces and hoping his draft picks pan out to just be this unbelievable thing, and it just hasn't worked. Like, Eric Robinson in the beginning, he looked good. Like, what he did this year was fine. Like, I really don't mind their attempt. I'll put it that way. Like, I don't mind them trying to run it back. Hopefully your goaltending picks up. Hopefully the defensive players you brought in can raise your defense a little bit, and that's all you really needed if the offense could repeat. But now they haven't. So now you have to, okay, like, that strategy failed. So what are you going to do now? And they haven't done anything. Like, that's the issue. Like, what they rolled into the season with was fine. Like, whatever. You want to try to repeat it. Like you said, it's unlikely that all these career years happen again. But it was also, if you're trying to be realistic about this team, it's also unrealistic that everybody fails at the same time. Like, that just seems also just as unrealistic as the entire team getting career years again. So I think rolling it back really wasn't the worst idea. And then adding, some of your younger players like Benson, hopefully they give you just that little bit of an edge, and like UPL or Levi step up and your defense steps up a little bit and your team's right there. But now that strategy has failed miserably. And I don't think it's all on Adams that it failed, but now you have to figure it out. Like, you have to change your strategy. That strategy is gone. It didn't work. So fix it. And now we're doing just nothing in damage control. And that's what is frustrating about Adams right now, is like, there's just no response from this team at all, from coaching to the players to the GM. No one seems to care that they're going to miss playoffs again. I know they say they're frustrated, all that, but we're just right back to where we were years and years ago, where the team just misses playoffs and the players are like, meh, all right, we missed it again. Like, they were talking about the intensity wasn't there earlier in the season for some of these games, and like now it's coming back to bite them. Like, why were you not intense the entire season? Like, I don't get that mentality. Like, what, you just didn't want to play for the first half of the season? You're like, oh my gosh, the season started, now we are way out of the playoffs and can't make it. Who knew that would come back to bite us? Like, what a dumb statement. Like, oh yeah, we weren't intense enough early in the season. Like, why not? Why are you not playing every game like you want to win? Like, what? I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't get it.
They pretty much came into the season like their what didn't stink, and it coming back to bite them. And it's the same excuses like we've heard for years and years and years that date back even before the Jack Eichel and Sam Reinhart era of, we got to do this different. We didn't come out with the same intensity, blah, 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 blah. It's the same excuse on repeat, and this team might never make the playoffs ever again. But I'm done talking about them. There's your longest Sabres segment in the longest time. We tried. I mean, I don't know what else to add. Like, we're the same repeat over and over and over again because they're the same team over and over and over again. So I got nothing else. Let's move on to the next segment, the final segment here. We figured with the Buffalo Bandits bye week, let's try to turn this positive. We would look back towards the preseason, and we made some bold predictions, and we wanted to check back and see how they were doing. So we'll start with the NLL bold predictions that we put out there, and we're pretty bold on. So Phil, do you want to run through your 3 bold predictions and kind of discuss real quick how you think they're panning out almost midway through the NLL season?
Yeah, so my first one was that the former East will finish top 3 in unified standings. That was going to be Buffalo, Toronto, and Halifax in that order. So far, not bad. Toronto is number 1. The Seals are throwing me off a little bit. Albany's starting to come back to earth a little bit, so not super concerned about them. But in the top 5 are 3 of the top 5 are the teams that I finished to finish in the top 3. So not bad. Not bad. So Halifax is 4-3. Toronto 6-1, Buffalo's 5-3, so they're all right there. San Diego, I knew was always going to be trouble. They're a very good team, so they were the ones that I think I had them finishing 4th. I still do. I still think Halifax, Toronto, and the Bandits can finish as the top 3. Toronto scares me as far I want Buffalo to finish number 1, but Toronto scares me as a team that could finish number 1 finally and get over the Bandits, but we'll see. The Bandits play them again. The Bandits also have to continue their incredible run and keep it going pretty much the rest of the season. But so far, not bad. I mean, 3 of the top 5 are the 3 that I said would finish top 3, so not terrible. Nick DeMood would win Goalie of the Year. He's doing okay, but he's not doing as well as I would have liked, and Nick Rose is playing out of his absolute mind. So a goalie that probably should have gotten it multiple times already and is playing, again, extremely good, except when he played the Bandits. I could see Nick Rose right now as the front runner, and I think he will finally get it as long as he keeps this up. And then that the Riptide would make the playoffs. They were 5-13 last year, and they started very poorly, but now they're rolling. They're on a 3-game win streak. They are 4-4 and currently in a playoff spot. So I'm doing okay. I did change my goalie of the year to be Nick Rose, but the other 2 I'm keeping for now.
Yeah, I was going to say that was the bit of a surprise. Phil kind of let the birdie out of the cage here.
Sorry.
We're going to adjust any ones that we think are just like no chance, because what's the fun in having a bold prediction that has no chance? So yeah, Phil's switching from Nick DeMood to Nick Rose. Kind of just got to switch the last names there for goalie of the year. But the other 2, I agree with you. I think the top 3 from the former East can still do it. I think Halifax is kind of your wild card because I don't think they've put a full 60 minutes together yet. But I agree with the Nick Rose switch. I think Nick DeMood has a promising future, but Nick Rose just might be another repeat of a goalie of the year and MVP like Christian Del Bianco did last year. And then Riptide. I was making fun of you early in the season, starting 0-3, and then I think they were 1-4. But yeah, winners of 3 straight, 4 of the last 5. I think you were the magic sauce that they needed, because I picked them 2 years ago now, 1 year ago, and it was real bad. I think I picked them to make the playoffs when they finished 5-13.
Yeah, you did. And then I think they also just needed to hear you call them out again, because you said that they weren't going to do it again, and it was my turn to have them not make playoffs when I called them out. But they're doing it. They're doing it.
That's what happened. But I like your changes and I like your keeps. So not bad. 2 out of 3, not bad. My bold predictions here. I had Jeff Teat breaking the goal record. He is currently on pace for 58.5. I think it's possible. He started the season slower. You got to remember that. In the 3-game loss, 3-game losing streak, he was not producing very many points. He was pretty downright bad. The whole team was really bad. The offense wasn't working, and we're like, that's when I was making fun of you. And in the last 5 games, he's been unbelievable. The pace he is on right now is unbelievable. So, I mean, he's averaging, 9 or 10 points a game? I'm going to keep that one. Yes, he's only on pace for 58.5, but that alone, with those 3 added in there, is only 13.5 off the record. And what he's been pumping in now, I'm going to keep that one. I'm not positive he's going to get there because of the
bold,
slow start he had.
It's bold.
But I'm going to double down on my bold. I'm going to keep it. So my second one here, I had Mitch Jones being the league's MVP. He was on an absolute tear when he got traded from Vancouver to Philadelphia last year. I mean, he was up there in points, and I believe he had an extra game played last year. But even this year, he's having a pretty good year. But Philly, man, everybody that said Philly was a playoff team, all those, I'm going to put them on blast. All those so-called experts out there that were like, Philly's making the playoffs, Philly this, Philly that, all the rebuild they went. You and I are both sitting there like, I don't get it. Like, I might have been wrong with how bad I thought the offense was going to be. I believe they have more talent there than I thought they did. But the amount of shots they're letting in on Zach Higgins is just, it's not fair to the man. It really isn't. So I'm switching off Mitch Jones because you can't have a team that's sitting at 2-5 and be the league's MVP, and he's not pumping in as many goals. I think he had 1 goal and 7 assists in a 15-goal game last time. So I'm switching from him, and I'm going a little bit more bold here as well. I'm going Wes Berg for MVP, the captain of the San Diego Seals. San Diego's on an absolute tear right now. He's playing unbelievable. The only thing that I might regret is picking him over Austin Stotts, but I think just the more intangibles that Wes Berg brings, he will be my MVP. And then my last one, Toronto will lead the league in scoring. I'm switching it. Toronto's offense has not been the same without Time Schreiber, and I think they have fallen so far back. I don't think that's happening. I'll switch it to San Diego. We'll lead the league in scoring. I'm hedging my bet there, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go over who I think will lead that
That's
in the
true.
next segment.
Yep.
Do you think? I know we don't have. I don't think. Yeah, neither of us have it in the Bandits midway bold stuff. Do you think? Because I did not realize that Josh Byrne was leading the league in points. Do you think he has a shot to be MVP?
I do. I think he has a very good shot at it because it's not like he's just pumping in goal after goal after goal and padding the point stats. He's got 33 assists with 21 goals. So I do think he has a shot at it. My only biggest fear is because he is partnered with Dane Smith. I think both of them together just somehow pull the MVP value in their names away, if that makes sense, in a weird kind of way. Like, they're feeding off each other. They have 2 MVP type players playing on the same team. It kind of negatively affects them a bit, where you got like Nick Rose, who yes has unbelievable defense in front of him, but he still has to make the saves. You got Jeff Teat, who's just a man himself on a mission. You got Callum Crawford, who's got nobody else there. So like players that are more on an island surrounded by islands off in the distance, if that's a good metaphor for this. But I agree. I think Josh Byrne could be in the discussion, but I just because he has Dane Smith there, I think that negatively affects his MVP status in a weird way.
I mean, what I'm going to say, it makes sense, but was it 3 teams in the top 10, 4 teams? The Bandits, the Seals, the Swarm, and the Nighthawks. 4 of the top 10 are combo are teammates in the top 10 for scoring. So the Bandits, the Seals, the Nighthawks, and the Swarm all have 2 players in the top 10, which, obviously those 2 players feed off each other really, really well, and that's why there's that many in the top 10. But like you said, so the 2 that stick out the most in the top 10 for scoring are Jeff Teat, who's, like you said, on an island by himself, who's number 2 in the league right now in points, and then Callum Crawford, who also does not have a partner in crime in the top 10 by himself at 6. So like those 2, like you said, stick out that much more because they don't have that counterpart, that 1-2 punch where, I mean, for the Bandits, it's incredible that you have 1 and 3 right now, as that you have two of the top 3 point getters in the entire league, which is ridiculous. Then the Seals have 4 and 5, which is also ridiculous. So, like you mentioned, like Berg and Stotts could cancel each other out. Byrne and Smith could cancel each other out. And honestly, Teat right now could be a pretty solid front runner if he keeps this up as well.
I agree with that. Yeah, he's a man on a mission right now trying to get that New York team.
Limited support. He's got some support. I'm not saying that the team is
better than it was. Yeah.
Terrible, but he's still himself.
So we'll move on. We also did Bandits bold predictions because obviously we covered the team. So Phil, would you like to go over what 3 bold predictions you had for the Buffalo Bandits season and if you are changing any of them?
Yeah, so my 3 were Chase Fraser will score 40 goals now that he's healthy. And so far, he is at 18 through 8 games. So if he gets 2 more, he will be very on pace. He's pretty much just on pace right now to hit 40. It's a pretty high point or goal total for him. I think he's had over 30 in one season, but still, it's a lot. 40 goals is a lot to get in the NLL. So I am going to keep it because he's literally on pace and he looks absolutely incredible so far this season. He looks healthy. He looks good. He's scoring from every single angle and direction and way possible. So keeping that one, the Bandits will be the highest scoring team and score over 250. They are scoring extremely well, and they are one of the top scoring teams in the entire league. So if they can keep up exactly what they've been doing the entire season, I think they can absolutely be in the fight. I don't know if they get over 250 because I think the average you had to hit was like 14 goals a game, so that would be really difficult, I think, for them to get, but I do think they still have a chance to be the highest scoring team. I think I don't know where they are per game. I know they were top 3 before the Rochester game, then they put up 15 goals, so they're probably still right around there. I know goals for, they're technically number 1, but they have some extra games played compared to some other teams, so it's a little bit shaky. But they are definitely one of the highest scoring teams in the league. And then the other one, which is unlikely to happen, but still possible, the Bandits will be 15-3, only losing 3 games all season. They've been 14-4, 3 straight seasons, I believe. So I was really hoping they would just, get one more win, one less loss, and boom, we got it. But they already started with 3 losses. So it is possible they win out. I personally, as a analyst and fan of the Bandits, hope they do not win out because they don't need to go on a 12-game win streak headed into playoffs. I don't like the idea of that. You're just asking for a loss. So to me, I think they will still finish really, really well. I think they have their season a little bit more on track. The defense just needs to pick it up a smidge, and they'll be rolling as still arguably the best team in the entire league. So I think they are going to finish 13-5, 2 random losses. I don't know who it's going to be. Hopefully not to the teams they need to jump in the standings, but I think they are going to lose a couple more random games throughout the season, which honestly I still think is a positive for the team because they need to lose some in order to just grow as a team.
Yeah, Frazier is on pace to get the 40 mark. His career high is 32 back in 2022 when he played all 18. He also had a 29-goal season in 2019, and then he had 16 in just 8 games in that COVID-shortened season. So he is on pace. I think he can do it. He's just got to remain hot, and he's got to have a few more of those 4-goal games because eventually, Dane Smith's going to be coming and scoring. Bandits, I do agree, can possibly be the highest scoring team. What they've been able to do, they've had 1 game all season below 12 goals. So if they keep this kind of pace up, I don't know if they're going to get to 250, but I think they can get to the highest scoring team in the league. And then I do think that you were right. I don't think going into the playoffs on a 12-game winning streak is the best solution and best idea. You saw what happened to the Buffalo Bills, but I think they can go 13-5. I believe what you said was the defense has to pick it up a smidge. I think that's completely true because we've went over it so many times. Not all the goals that are going in on Matt Vince are on him. I'd say like 10-15% of them he wants not back, many. But the rest of them are just breakdowns in front of him. But I agree with 13-5. I think that is possible. I will go over mine. I'll save my biggest one for last. Cam Wires will lead all rookie defensemen in cause turnovers and be named first team all rookie defense. I do like that one. I'm sticking with that one. I think he has picked it up of recent years. He still has too many ups and downs, but that's what comes with being a rookie defenseman in this league. So I will leave that one, even though he's got some tough competition with other.
He is number 3 on the team in cause turnovers as well.
Boom. Don't tell me what they are in the league and but rookies though. My second one, Dane Smith will finish with 100 assists. Let me pull up what he currently has.
Dane Smith has 43.
43, so he's got to pick it up a smidge because he would have to average 7 or have 7 in the next game that they play next week versus Halifax to keep on pace. But he's got a good chance at it. He's got a chance. He's got rolling. A chance. So I'm leaving that one as well. And then my other one here, because I had an honorable mention, this one is my honorable mention. Bandits will have 2 games of 20 or more goals. I'm going to keep that one. They had a high of 16 versus Toronto, and Toronto is one of the best scoring teams. They have Vegas on deck. They have Panther City. They have Saskatchewan. They have a few more bottom feeder team, Vancouver. So I do believe
it eases up eventually in this schedule.
It does. So I think it is possible if this offense continues to do what they're doing with who is still on deck. I think they can get over 20 goals twice, and that would help your one bold prediction. And then my last one here. This is where I got some changes. One of them because I absolutely have to because the player's not on the team anymore. Bandits will have one 40-goal scorer in Josh Byrne. I'm keeping that one. They will have 3 30-goal scorers in Smith, Nanticoke, and Kluch. I'm changing. I'm taking Smith out, and I'm putting Frazier in. So I got Frazier, Nanticoke, and Kluch as my 30-goal scorers. One 20-goal scorer. It was Frazier. Like I said, I bumped him up. I bumped Smith down to this spot, so now I got Smith scoring 20. And then 4 10-goal scorers. Before the season started, I had Buchanan, McKay, Brad McCulley, and Dylan Robinson. I got to switch that up. I'm changing it from 4 to 3. I am removing Brad McCulley and Dylan Robinson, 1, because McCulley's in Vancouver now, and 2, Dylan Robinson has 1 goal on the year. I'm going to just switch the first names and add Brandon Robinson, take out Dylan Robinson. So to review, Josh Byrne over 40. I got Frazier, Nanticoke, and Kluch over 30. I got Smith over 20, and I got Buchanan, Brandon Robinson, and Ian McKay over 10.
Nanticoke and Kluch got to pick it up a little.
They do, yes.
But it's possible Smith would be on pace for that. Buchanan just needs 1 goal the rest of the season, so he's set. McKay just needs 3. He'll be all right. Brandon Robinson, honestly, he's an interesting one to talk about, too. I still like what he does intangible-wise, and that goal he scored was ridiculous, but I think he needs to be a little bit more of a staple of the offense, and that's not on the offense. That's more on him. I think he just needs to pick it up a little bit as far as, like, we saw in a few times before he got injured last season that he has the ability to put up 4 goals in a game, and I think he's just been a little bit off. Not that he's been bad. I still like what he brings to the offense, and he still has the ability to score. And the goal, again, he scored was ridiculous on Nick Rose. But I think he can be someone who scores 1 or 2 goals a game and gives you just that, that extra goal in there. And I think he's just been a little bit off. He doesn't look terrible by any means, but he looks just a little bit still uncomfortable on offense at times. And I think he, if he can click it in, just dial it in just a little bit more and just be a little bit more of a consistent threat on offense, which I know he has the ability to be, I think that the offense, which already looks ridiculous, could be a little bit better. And also it's really fun watching him be that big-bodied player and how casual he goes into loose balls. He just knows that you aren't going to be able to move him, and he just plants his feet and just very casually scoops the ball up as someone slams in behind him, and he just doesn't budge. And I love watching him box out for loose balls because he picks them up just so incredibly casually because he just knows that you're not going to be able to move him, and I love watching it.
So those are our Buffalo Bandits
not too many
bold
changes.
Predictions. Yeah, not many changes. I think overall, we did a pretty good job of picking our bold predictions even before the season started.
Not bad.
Right.
And I did have my secret one in my article that I wrote to start the year was Josh Byrne would have the ability and the chance to beat out Dane Smith this year for points on the Bandits. So right now he is doing it. He's got 2 more than Smith. Smith is right behind him, and I think Smith is going to possibly heat up more than he already is in the assist department. But if he gets some of that goal scoring ability back and that regresses, other way. Is regresses still the right word for that?
I think so.
Regresses back to the mean, where his shooting percentage should be much higher than it is. And if he gets back to what he can do in his career average, I think he's going to start scoring a little bit more. So it's going to be Josh is also just going to have to turn it up a little bit, but he is currently leading him 8 games in by 2 points, and I think Josh still has the ability to lead the entire team in points. It's going to be very close between those two, but I do think that Josh has the capability to take the lead this year and finally beat out Dane for the team lead in points, and then who knows where that'll be in the league. Obviously very, very high and possibly number one, so we'll see. But that is also still looking pretty good to start the season.
I think he had a good chance of it last year until he got hurt as well.
Yep.
He missed a few games last year.
Yep.
But we will take a look around the league, because even though the Bandits are off, there are 6 games on the schedule. Remember, every Wednesday we put out our BSC picks. Pat is still absolutely demolishing us. I think I'm 5 games back now.
We got some back.
We did get one back. We did get one back last week. But here is the look around. Here's the look around the NLL right now. Las Vegas travels to Halifax Friday at 6:30. Colorado goes to Panther City Friday at 9 p.m. And then Saturday, we got 4 games on the slate. Georgia is in Rochester at 7 o'clock. Calgary versus Toronto, rematch from last week, but this time in Hamilton at 7 o'clock. San Diego versus New York. I'm excited for that one at 7:30. And then you got the Saskatchewan Rush going to Vancouver. One of those teams is probably going to be knocked out of the playoff contention just because of how far down you're going to be. And to me, that's probably going to be Vancouver, but I think I have them winning in my BSC picks, so I'm taking that back. 10 o'clock on Saturday. So I wish these games were a little bit more spaced out on Saturday, but some pretty big matchups and some pretty big standing implications.
Yeah, sadly, there's not too many, I think, that are actually going to help the Bandits. I think Halifax likely takes down Vegas.
I don't know.
I mean, I again, it's weird because I want my bold predictions to be true, but at the same time, Halifax is right on the Bandits' butt for standing, so I would have no problem with them losing. Georgia, Rochester, that's going to be a very interesting game between two teams that are on the downswing. I know Georgia just won 1, but they had lost a few in a row there, and then Rochester has lost 4 straight now, so I think that's going to be a really good game between two teams that are toward the back end of playoffs and kind of the middle of the stand. Rochester absolutely needs to win. Georgia also still would like to win to continue to stay in a playoff position, so that one's huge. Calgary and Toronto, I don't know. Calgary is just a depressing team right now. I don't think they take that one. I think Toronto's a better team. San Diego, New York, I'm really excited to see. It's a really good test for New York. San Diego is an incredible team. Once again, they are and have been for a few years now. They don't get the, I would say, recognition. I mean, they were always a West Coast team, so we didn't talk about them as much, but they also were a team that was out in playoffs very early. So I feel like they didn't get the recognition as much as they should because they are a very good team. They just, for some reason, can't put it together in playoffs. So they've always been a team, standings-wise, has been very good. They have a very good team, and right now their goalie is up there with Nick Rose in stats for a very young goalie. So they are putting together a very, very good team. They're going to be scary this year. So I think it's a really big test for New York, and New York is, like I said, on that 3-game win streak, so that'll be a really interesting game just to see as a litmus test for New York. Like, what is this team on that win streak? Like, how do you compare to one of the best teams in the league? I'm really interested to see how that game plays out. And then, like you said, the Rush and the Warriors, if the Warriors lose again, they are, I was going to say it's early. It's not early. That is halfway through the season. They'd be looking at 2-7. Good luck crawling out from that. You unlikely don't. And the Rush, if they lose, they would go to 2-5. You still have a chance to crawl out of that, but again, not easily. So, I mean, the Rush are looking to stay in playoffs, and same with the Warriors. If they lose that one, they are in serious trouble and likely already out.
Yeah, so we have some teams that are pretty much fighting for their playoff lives. We got some other teams that are looking to position themselves better in the standings, and then just a few other ones that are just trying to make some noise in the NLL. So, Phil, is there anything else you would like to add to this episode before you head off to bed?
No, I do have one random topic, but we have another kind of random episode coming up. So I will. I'll save it. I'll save it for next time.
I do like it. So on our next show, we got more Sabres games. Well, one more Sabres game that we got to talk about. We'll be recording before the Super Bowl, so we won't have that on the docket. But we do have one more. Re-look back at what we were saying the playoff outlooks look like. So if you have any interest, go look back on our social media sites where we posted that before the season started. We'll be looking at that one again and making any adjustments on the next show. So we will end there. Thank you all for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Phil, thank you for staying awake through this hour-long episode. Follow us on. It was a close one. I was wondering if you were going to nod off back and forth, but you were very vocal and alive in this one, and I appreciate it. So follow. Last one more minute here, Phil. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Once again, Phil's article dropped on Tuesday. Bandits versus Rochester breakdown, and then my power rankings for Week 11 broke. A lot of movement there. BuffaloSportsCollective.com. Subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure you leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. Until next time, bye-bye.